recently had a little debate. I think you heard some breaking news in that debate. Your kids were only out of school for 3 months. It's funny because I said that I heard an audible gasp, and I've had so many parents come to me since that and say, yeah, there was an audible gasp. It was our kids. Our kids that said, what is she talking about? When you have little kids watching TV and going, why is the governor lying? Then you know she might be in trouble in this race. I didn't even have to say it because everybody in the entire state went, oh, wait, I remember this. I remember when this woman used to come out in different leather jackets and tell us all that we were doing something wrong. I think everybody has been taken back to that moment, and Gretchen Whitmer is a little nervous. Have you noticed that you haven't seen her on national TV lately? But in the midst of a pandemic, when we were in a complete statewide crisis, she was on national TV every day because she wanted to be the vice president of the United States. But now that she wants to be reelected as governor, she doesn't want you to see her. All of her events are invite only. Do you think she's afraid you might have bad memories jogged? I think so. Because we all remember that. But I think what is most important here to remember is that when she comes out and she tells you that what happened to you didn't really happen, that your kids weren't really out of school, then she's not taking it seriously that not only were our kids out of school, but they are severely behind because of it. That's right. The state of Michigan is in the bottom 10 in the nation right now. We were already in a slow-moving crisis. We were already 38th in the nation before COVID, but this pushed us over and we're headed toward the bottom 5 states in the nation. But what has she done about that? Because I came out and I said, you know what, we need to immediately implement a tutoring program. And Gretchen Whitmer about 7 days later was like, I have a good idea. Why don't we do a tutoring program? And we're like, wow, that's smart. So I look at the time, I'm like, gosh, it's November, right? Yeah. How many tutors do you guys have in your schools? We are one of the only states that had kids out of school nearly as long as Michigan that do not have a tutoring program to get our kids back on track. So just because she thinks she can Jedi mind trick you and tell you, your kids were only out of school for 3 months. We all know that there are true ramifications to that she's not willing to take care of. But the funny thing is that's not the only issue that parents have about schools, and she's ignoring those issues too. Do you remember when we saw that training from the Department of Ed where the teachers are being told when kids come to the classroom, ask their pronouns, ask their gender, ask the name they want to use, and then lie to the parents about it? And then to even go a little further, if the child is considering self-harm or harming someone else, don't tell mom and dad because mom and dad in that case are the danger. Well, at that time, we said to Gretchen Whitmer, what do you have to say about this? And she created a parents' council. So show of hands, how many of you are on the parents' council? So weird. It's everywhere we go. I never see someone's hand. These parents are missing across the whole state. You would think that at least in one area that we go to, since we traveled across this whole state, we'd see one parent, but not one. In fact, I haven't heard the Parents' Council say anything about this either. And then we said, what is she going to do about these radical books in school? And you know, the Democrats made fun of us when we came out and we said, in Michigan, we're going to have a Florida-style law where we're not going to have sex and gender from kindergarten to 3rd grade. But the Democrats think that's ridiculous. So she kind of proved that she thinks this is ridiculous in the debate when she turned to me, and I think she thought this was going to be a real humdinger. Like she's going to use this constantly because she said, my opponent thinks books are more dangerous than guns. And I'm like, why don't we just protect our kids from all the bad stuff? Why do we have to choose? Because the last time I checked, the only person who was governor when we had a school shooting in Michigan was Gretchen Whitmer, and she hasn't done a darn thing about it. And the real kicker to that is that she came out after that and she said, I think we need to have a discussion about this. That's not fixing the problem. That's not protecting our kids. And then she even thinks that she has a stronger argument when she looks at me and she goes, if she had her way, she'd have an armed guard in our schools. Like, yeah. Yes, she's like campaigning for me. So I feel like I should say, when you have the state police come out with you, do you tell them to leave all their weapons at home, Gretchen? Because I'm pretty sure she has people defending her and protecting her with guns. But I think we're back to that, what's good for me, not good for you, rules for thee, but not for me type of thing. You all remember that too, right? That was when we saw her get up on the debate. I feel like I went right back to those moments where I was hearing for, I think it was a 2-week period, her say, whatever you do not go to Florida. Florida is being run by a madman. He is allowing people to be free. Whatever you do, you cannot go there. And then all of a sudden these Facebook pictures come out from her staff that are like on the beach in Alabama, and we're like, that's pretty close. Are we okay with Alabama? And I mean, think of the arrogance of that they go out and they're like, we're just at the beach. And then to top it off, I totally forgot about this. To top it off, the caption, I believe, was something like, left so-and-so, one of our kids at home because they have COVID. And we're like, well, maybe we should warn Alabama. So then she said, don't do this. It's so dangerous. And then it slips out that she actually just got back from Florida after she took a private jet. Must be nice. So the real kicker of this, I think, and the part that really gets me is that here's the person who is supposed to be a leader, and she's telling us not to do something. And she does it after we have been locked in our homes and locked away from our loved ones and locked away from the people in our lives who were sick. And she says, I had to go because my father was sick. And if I hadn't gone, Republicans would say I don't have any family values. But I'm sitting here thinking, are you kidding me? We have had children die without parents, parents die without children. People haven't had funerals. People haven't been together for weddings. My goodness, she told us to tell on the neighbors if you caught them having a Thanksgiving. And she has the nerve to say I had to go down there because Republicans would call me out. How disgusting is this? Look, I remember my grandmother being locked away in a nursing home. And I've traveled the state and talked about my grandmother's story. She wasn't sick. She didn't have COVID. She was fine until they locked her away, because we don't lock our seniors away. We know that if you lock seniors away from their loved ones, they become depressed. And my grandmother died of a broken heart, like so many other people's stories across this state. And at the time, we're all going through this. I didn't know how impactful this would be, but I stepped back when they called and they said, your grandmother's not going to make it much longer. You should come down and say goodbye. But the kicker of that is you can only look through the window. You can't actually come in and say goodbye. So I brought my 4 little girls, and they stood at the window with my sister and her daughter. And I stepped back to take a picture because in my mind, I'm like, this is the last time they're with their grandmother. Their great-grandmother. It's the last time they'll see her. And if I look back in that picture, you see families down the row looking in at their loved ones. And she had the nerve to say, I went down to see my father because I would have been told I don't have family values if I didn't. Think about the arrogance of that alone. I mean, on top of the fact that why could you go to a strip club but not a movie theater? All of the other bizarre things, like, is the strip club really sanitary? Is that the place we go for good health these days? I mean, I've got people that own greenhouses, and they're like, we were delivering Easter lilies curbside because there's like a small window for Easter lilies. We usually sell them around Easter. But she's like, postpone that for a couple months. They're like, postpone the whole holiday, or just, what are we talking about here? So these folks, they said, We got notices on the door of the greenhouse that said, if you continue curbside service of Easter lilies, you will go to jail. The guy said to me in Grand Rapids, he said, I'm pretty sure that the people who are growing marijuana, it's pretty much the same process, and for some reason they could deliver it curbside. This is the kind of stuff that they were doing across the state, taking people's businesses, crushing them, and then standing there and looking like, you owe me. I own you. You do what I say. And if you don't, I'm going to put you on a shame list on the internet. That's what happened in the state of Michigan. When I tell people outside of the state of Michigan, they're like, what? How can that possibly be? Yeah, that's what happened here. So that will never happen again under a Dixon administration. The most telling part about this is you would think that they would learn and they would be like, you know, I really want to earn your vote. I'd like to serve you again as governor and lieutenant governor. But they were in Detroit over the weekend and Garland Gilchrist came out and he said, this election is about political power. And we get political power from the city of Detroit. And I was like, okay, so they haven't learned. This is what it is. It's really about power for them. Look, I am asking you for the honor of serving you and leading, not about power. That is not what this is about. Gretchen Whitmer has made it clear that she is not here for our men and women in blue. We back the blue. We believe it's important. We will always support our men and women in law enforcement. She says she didn't march with defund the police. She absolutely did. She's on tape saying she supports the spirit of defund the police. And they stood in Detroit and Barack Obama said, we have a serious problem with crime because of Trump. They're standing in the second most violent city in the country. Gretchen Whitmer has been in office for 20 years. And somehow this is Donald Trump's fault? It's time for people in this state, across the state, not just Detroit, across the state, for us to vote in people who want to serve and lead. And just let me be clear on this stage tonight. A Dixon administration will always support our men and women in law enforcement. We won't have a situation where people can have their businesses taken away or crushed by state government because it goes beyond COVID. She has used her agencies to go after our farmers, our manufacturers, our builders, shut them down, cite them, fine them. I had a dairy producer the other day say to me, I have never had a more offensive report come from a government agency. Walk through my shop and you usually know what they're going to say. He said, I got a report from them that was so offensive with so many citations and threats of fines that it was the first time I considered leaving the state. Too many businesses have closed or left Michigan, and she has no economic plan whatsoever. When she was asked at the Detroit Economic Club what her economic development plan was, she said, I'm going to eat the lunch of Indiana and Ohio and offer those businesses abortion. That's not an economic plan. An economic plan is actually figuring out how to make it easy to do business in the state of Michigan, which right now it's not. So we're going to reduce regulations by 40% and bring back the American dream to the state of Michigan. Back the American dream, we have got to get our schools back on track. So that's why I have put a big focus on education, because to me, the most important thing we can do for our children is to make sure they can read. That is critical. From kindergarten to third grade, you're learning to read. From third grade on, you're reading to learn. If you miss that crucial step, we have robbed you of that key to unlock the rest of your education. I had a reporter recently say to me, you're really hung up on this third grade reading thing. I said, yeah, kinda. And she said, don't you think there are just some third graders that aren't gonna read? And I said, well, which ones do you choose? She was really quiet then. No, tell me, which ones you don't wanna have reading? I said, because I don't have a lot of parents coming up to me and saying, you talk about this reading thing a lot. We don't do that in our house. Not into the reading. Stop talking about it. No one does that. You know why? Because reading is so important. But in Michigan, we just got our reading tests back from third graders from the spring. Nearly 60% failed. That is how crucial it is to get this state back. And once we get ourselves back on track in reading, we can open the world to so many more things, skilled trades, a workforce that understands how to go out in the world and really work hard and earn a living and have that opportunity for the American dream for themselves. And if we're not offering that to every student in this state, we better not sleep until we figure out a way to do it. You know, when I came out of the primary, people were like, who is this girl? How is she ever going to do this? Like, I guarantee you, Gretchen Whitmer never thought we'd have crowds like this. It's like, big deal. Nobody even knows this girl. So I had this guy on radio, he said to me, how do you think it's possible you're going to get the name ID that Gretchen Whitmer has? Everyone in this state knows her. And I said, well, everybody in this state will know my name and Gretchen Whitmer's going to pay for it. I wonder if she regrets that $25 million in ads now, because everywhere we go, and I mean, multiple times today, we stopped at the gas station, people are like, can we get our picture with you? I'm voting for you. But it's always this whisper. Even the other night at the house, I was handing out Halloween candy, and this guy came up, and I gave his daughter Halloween candy, and he goes, are you Tudor Dixon? And I said, yeah, I am. And he was like, oh, I'm voting. And I'm thinking, we're at my house. The people around here know me. It's okay. You can say it out loud. But that I kind of love, because it just makes me believe that I'm going to see so many people on Tuesday that no one was expecting because they were whispering. Whisper anymore when we see on Tuesday so many Republicans get elected, despite all of the comments that you're hearing from Joe Biden and the Democrats coming out and trying to say these people are conspiracy theorists and they're nuts. And it's like, how much worse could we do than having you? So they will be totally shocked on Tuesday, because the fact is that common sense gets elected. And we're ready to bring common sense back to the beautiful state of Michigan. So I have a job for you. Even if you're going to whisper, talk to as many people as you can. Say, listen, we have a real opportunity to make education a priority in the state of Michigan, to bring back honor to law enforcement in the state of Michigan, to make sure the American dream thrives in the state of Michigan. But you got to get up and go out and vote on November 8th and make sure you vote for Republicans. You guys are amazing for coming out here at night in the cold. I mean, I have to say, for Michigan, this has been pretty nice. I think we're blessed to be on what we know. But it is really amazing to come here and see you all and just get to chat with you. I love it so much, and I love you. Thank you so much. God bless you, and God bless the beautiful state of Michigan. We're going to do this.